So, we thank you so much for everybody that submitted questions ahead of time because we wanted to try to answer those as we go through, and obviously there'll be more time for Q&A. But some of you were really curious, like, what are some examples of startups from MIT and what's been its impact? So this is a little bit of that legacy. We've had over 30,000 companies that have started. We have over 4.6 million jobs created. Think about the economic development that at multiple different levels of expertise and backgrounds, and almost 2 trillion in revenue per year. So these are just a sampling of companies that have now really blown up in terms of size, have gone IPO, but there are so many thousands more that aren't here and are in process, and yours could be one of them. If we go to the next slide, please. So this is an important thing that we want you to understand, is that here at MIT, we believe that entrepreneurship is a craft that can be taught. You have to understand that MIT started off as a technical school. And this is why our motto is mens et manus. It is mind and hand. And so you have to put your mind at work through your hands. And so we're always thinking about what that manifests into. And so in the next slide, you will see that for entrepreneurship, what that manifests into is really trying to create an ecosystem of support so that you can get your hands dirty in one of the most welcoming and loving environments that I personally have ever been in. One of the reasons that actually I even fell into entrepreneurship, I wish I was as lucky as you, Mike, who were like, this is what I want and I want to do it. I fell into entrepreneurship because I'm a mission-oriented person, and there are certain problems that I care about deeply. And at the time, I cared about mobility and access in a way that was sustainable. And while I was here, I met such amazing people that were doing incredible work. And at the same time, I met all of these different resources, and I was like, you know what? The solution that I see in my head, I can implement into the future. If these people believe in me, I can believe in myself. And that's what really enabled me to kick off my entrepreneurial career. And so I just want you to show you this map, because all of these different color codes are actually different elements of campus that are providing entrepreneurial support. Some are from the School of Engineering, others are from the School of Architecture and Planning, and others are from the MIT Sloan School. And all of them work in concert to support you. Next slide. So here are some student clubs. One of the things that you should know about MIT is that we are a very bottom-up campus. And so sometimes that could drive you a little nuts. You're like, what? There isn't any coordination here? Why do I feel like I'm reinventing the wheel? And the thing that dawned on me is, like, the reason that I feel like I'm reinventing the wheel is, one, because I am, but guess what? Now I know how to make a wheel. Right? And so those are some of the skill sets that you will get as being a part of on campus and really getting to feel that groundswell of activity. And so many of these clubs here that you see is not because there was some top-down expectation that these clubs needed to happen. It's because there were students that had the passion and the care for those types of activities, and then they themselves kicked it off. And you can do the same. In the next slide, I want to show you a couple of the cross-campus collaborations. So as I mentioned to you, I'm a part of the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship, but we are just one piece of this entire ecosystem. And so these are all different types of labs where they're doing interesting research, where they're launching it from a technology to a product in market. Some of these are places that help students incubate their ideas, and so taking a concept of a business and then how to turn it into something that can really be deployed as a for-profit model. Some of these are actually focused on nonprofit models. Some of them are focused on systems change entrepreneurship and social impact entrepreneurship. And all of these work in connection and in tandem to support your journey. And in the next slide, you will also see that we try to work a lot with industry as well. So you might be thinking, I work for an organization and maybe they might be interested in supporting some of the initiatives here. So one of the things that you should also understand as part of our action learning sort of ethos here is that we have a lot of classes that are called labs. And in those labs, we partner students with initiatives in industry and in market. And so one of those is this corporate entrepreneurship. So we do understand sometimes you might want to start something from the ground up. Sometimes you want to start and be disruptive within an organization. Well, that capability is also possible too. The other thing within this corporation piece is, are you thinking about entrepreneurship through acquisition? So that's where you can take a concept and then build it out. In fact, Tesla was that. Elon Musk bought the company and then built it up, but Tesla had already existed for previous years beforehand. So entrepreneurship through acquisition is also something that we work with students here. So we've given you a little bit of sort of the perspective of campus. In the next slide, I want to tell you a little bit more about our center here. So we have this physical place. This is actually one of the conference rooms where a lot of our students will spend hours on end working on their venture. But here at the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship, our mission is to advance and educate students in innovation-driven entrepreneurship in a manner that will best serve the nation and the world in the 21st century. So this is all very deliberate, and I want you to understand what I mean by innovation-driven enterprise. So several decades ago, MIT published a paper on different types of entrepreneurship. One was a linearly growing entrepreneurship, which we refer to as small, medium enterprise. The other one is more of a J-curve organization, which is exponentially growing organization. And those are innovation-driven enterprises because they depend on invention. And so here at MIT, we have invention happening every single day in multiple different disciplines. And the commercialization aspect, the place where MIT Sloan is strongest, can come together and truly innovate to disrupt the world. And that is what we are focused on. And in the next slide, you will see that it's really about you. You know, there are multiple different ways that you can grow your organization. And one of the things that we want to make sure is that you know that we are here for the messy parts. We are here for the hard parts. And what that means is we are not interested as a center to take any percentage of the organization that you built. This is a safe space where you have the support from EIRs like myself and faculty, where you can ask the vulnerable questions, where you can ask the silly questions, and we will give you the honest answers. And that's because in the next slide, you'll see we have these four main pillars that help us really grow how we see entrepreneurship. First, we have to start with the spirit. You have to believe in yourself. We cannot give you that, but we will give you all the love, all the support, all the infrastructure, all the free ramen possible to fuel you and develop that spirit. We will also develop courses and tactics, and we will teach you all of those and impart all that knowledge into your brain so that then you can put it into your hands and act and execute and learn and iterate. And in that process, you'll have all of these amazing people near you because that's the community that we want to support. Entrepreneurship isn't about one major person that can run the shots and is doing it all by themselves. No, the best organizations are the ones that truly understand the impact of team and how that team really confronts obstacles and turns them into opportunities. And so in the next slide, you'll see how we as a center, we support all of these different schools within MIT. So MIT is made up of all of these different schools. And you as a student would have the ability to take courses within all of these and work with the students there. And so then that brings us to the next slide, which is the student journey. So one of the things that we try to tell students is you can tap into this image at any point, right? When you come on campus in the fall, we have that T=0, which is this celebration of entrepreneurship, and it's an introduction. And if that's something that's gotten you interested or curious, well, we have workshops and we have events and we have office hours that you can take advantage of. And if that's something that, okay, that's feeding you, that makes sense for you, then we also offer courses. We offer exactly like was mentioned earlier, 15390, which is a core course in entrepreneurship for venture building. But then you can add other tactics, you can add other tools to your toolbox through those classes, and then we have extracurricular activities. All of these things build on top of each other. And you can make that journey whatever you want it to be. These are just some of the services and supports that you could take advantage of that ultimately culminate in MIT's premier startup accelerator that happens over the summer, which is Delta V. And that's what helps you hit that escape velocity into your startup world after you've graduated. Now, what's exciting and what you don't see here is that it's actually a circle, because Delta V happens at the beginning of the school year when people are getting inspired. And so all of this is a positive reinforcing loop that you can be a part of. And so just wanted to share a little bit in the next slides that come of how we try to engage the community after they've graduated. So in the next slide, you'll see this is the founder of Dropbox. He was an undergrad and he was in a frat. And he came back and talked to some of our students that are undergraduates that are doing an entrepreneurship certificate. And you, as an MBA or Sloan fellow, would have the opportunity to engage in events like this where you can also meet undergrads that are interested in entrepreneurship. So some of you pre-sent questions about how do I engage with the other schools? Well, we try to create these events that enable that. And in the next slide, you'll see, for example, we have Peter Walker. He is one of the thought leaders in data and data analysis for entrepreneurship, and he will be on campus for our current students soon to come. And so you can see we're trying to bring in folks from outside of MIT that still support the ecosystem here, as well as in the next slide, Mitch Kapoor. So a longtime venture capitalist that can really speak about what his experience is and what he has seen in the industry and how that informs how the industry is moving forward. And then finally, just wanted to share a little bit of some of the programs that we run here. So these are some of our main programs. Start MIT introduces you to our ecosystem. Fuse helps you go deep into an idea. And Delta V helps you actually build out the business. And so in the next slide, you'll see that what we actually try to do is show the value. We are a data-driven organization. And so we want to show that the impact of doing that work yields dividends for the participants. And so here you can see the percentage of companies that are still going after 5 years, how many have fundraised, and the like. And in the next slide, you'll see, beyond the Delta V companies, an additional 130 additional companies have started with $2 billion in funding. So fundamentally, as you can see in the next slide, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for life. We want you to eat for life. So in the next slide is a little bit of an overview of the academics. As I was mentioning, 15390, that new enterprises, which will teach you from soup to nuts how you venture build. So it will give you the whole process in one semester. And then from there, you can go to foundational skills, functional skills, industry specific, and then you can go in company, as I was talking about the action learning. And you can do all of that in the next slide, which is our infrastructure. So we do provide an actual living space. You can have private rooms for your meetings, group settings, and then we also have a lot of events that we host here. And one of the things that we believe in a lot is serendipitous collisions, which is why we have the snack, why we fuel you with coffee and ramen, so that in those moments of you're talking about an idea, maybe somebody else is talking about a technology, and bam, your idea with their technology is an opportunity that can change the world. Here's another resource that we have for you. It's Orbit. So Orbit, and you can go on it if you want now. There are non-MIT affiliated accesses for you where we try to be the one-stop shop for all things entrepreneurship, because yes, not all of us are extroverts here, and that is okay. And so we try to build different tools for people to connect with entrepreneurship, and this one is one where you can sign up online and you can get a sense of different events, different job opportunities, internships in startups, and the like. And one of the things that we're really, really excited to announce, which is in the next slide, is that we have been teaching a framework for venture building called discipline entrepreneurship, and we have now been using artificial intelligence and using a wrapper in order to enable students to essentially put an idea in this interface, and it will take you through the venture building process. They will tell you that when they had to do it on their own, this was months of time, that now is immensely expedited. But what that means is that it gives you more time for you to do the quality research to help you get to the venture idea much, much faster. And I feel like I'm going a little bit long here, so I'm sorry. I really want you to hear from the students. In the next slide, just sharing with you that we have entrepreneurs in residence here with different expertise that can support you. And in the next slide, and that's my last slide, so I can hand it off, this was the framework that I was mentioning to you. So about 10 years ago, Bill Aulette, who is the managing director of the center, published Discipline Entrepreneurship. Discipline Entrepreneurship was the course reader for 15390. And since then, over 500 universities are teaching this. We have, a bunch of different other students and users and communities that engage with this framework, because this is what truly shows that there is a path for teaching the entrepreneurial process. And last year, a new book came out within this library of books, which is Startup Tactics. So think of discipline entrepreneurship as how do you take an idea or a tech and turn it into a business concept with a business plan? And then how do you take the startup tactics and really help you in the implementation of that business plan? And so now we have this 1-2 punch that you, as a hopefully an MIT affiliate, can really take advantage of as you build your venture. So with that, I am happy to pass it off to Megan.
Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to go really quick through this because I kind of talked about it earlier, but hi, I'm Megan, first year, really excited to meet everyone. I think the main things I would want to focus on here is why I even did an MBA here. And for me, it was primarily meeting exciting people and interesting people that were working on cool things. And then, as I mentioned earlier, really exploring that intersection of sustainability and entrepreneurship, because I, like Mike, came into business school knowing that I wanted to start a business. And so it was very intentional for me. So I came to Sloan, one, because vibes, very important to do a little vibe check. Really liked everybody that I met. And I was really impressed with the entrepreneurial ecosystem when I was here. And I also liked the idea that the rest of MIT was really in Sloan's backyard, and I could learn more about sustainability and the different sorts of technology that were being innovated on campus. So if we go to my next slide, we can see all the many entrepreneurial things that have happened in my life since then. So I actually was so impressed with all the entrepreneurship things happening at MIT that even before I got to campus, I went to an admit day and Jenny was actually there talking about Delta V, and I met the program manager for the New York City cohort. And I decided to apply, and somehow they took me. And so what I was doing there was really serving as logistical support to the Delta V cohort that is situated in New York. We also have a larger cohort in Boston, and that really allowed me to get a deep dive into the MIT and New York City ecosystem, and also just get a head start on developing relationships with different people at the Institute, and also understanding the methodology, the discipline entrepreneurship methodology that's so prevalent on campus. And so for me, that was a really big launching pad into just getting and hitting the ground running. I was very inspired after Delta V. I was like, Jenny, I'm ready to build my company. I just need to find a co-founder. And so that is what I started doing during semester one. So in semester one, I took the Entrepreneurship Pro Seminar, which is open to all the first years that are curious about it and just want to learn a little bit more about the different resources. It was a really great way for me to meet other students that were interested in entrepreneurship and explore some hands-on experience through a version of the class they called High Commitment. So we took an idea, found some teammates, and started working and iterating on that during the first semester. I realized I forgot to put pitch to match on there. It was something I also did, where you get up in front of a room of like 200 people and you talk about yourself and hope that somebody might be your entrepreneurial soulmate in the room. And then from there, I also did a hackathon, I realized, in semester one. So I forgot some stuff on here. So I did a climate hackathon as well, just to work on new ideas, learned about nuclear, I want to say fission. It's not the one that's got a negative connotation to it. And then during IAP, which is our kind of break in January when you can choose to be on campus and explore something, or you can take a long break, I decided to do Start MIT, which for me Having had some familiarity with the framework was just a good opportunity for me to meet people outside of Sloan. We had a ton of undergrads that I would just really have never met otherwise. We had students from a lot of different universities. I was honestly impressed with how many different schools were there. I think we had somebody from Australia, a school from Canada, obviously some Harvard people, some like BU people. Found like a potential co-founder there, which was exciting. So we pitched an idea for a sandbox, which I'll talk about in a second. And then also a chance for us to work on something for 2 to 3 weeks. And I also actually am part of the teaching team as well, because I was a TA at the same time for our discipline entrepreneurship lab, which was a opportunity for students who want to work on a startup or with a startup during IAP instead in a more free form, tailored way, get to do that over the break with getting some class credit. And so I also mentioned we have Sandbox. So that's I guess it's free funding, but also a lot of mentorship and community building in that as well. So I pitched 2 ideas for that and got approval for funding for that, and started to take some entrepreneurship coursework this semester, which I'm really excited about. Taking a class off campus at the Engine, which is scaling tough tech ventures. And then in that entire time, I was also working on the MIT Climate and Energy Prize because I wanted to make sure I could marry my interests together. And so that was exciting just to see all the different startups that were coming in from around the world and getting to see them pitch. We are having our semifinals next week and the week after. If anybody's interested, there is an online version if you guys are curious to see what sort of startups are applying to this competition or are being built in the MIT backyard.
Amazing. Cool. Great.
Awesome. I think it's my turn now. We can move on to the next slide. I mentioned to you guys a little bit about my story, but I put a timeline here as well. But first of all, let me start by saying whatever you heard from these guys, it's all real, and I can attest to it. And apart from what's coming in terms of the events with Mitch Kapoor and other entrepreneurial events out here, Aravind Srinivas is going to be with us as well, who was the CEO of Perplexity in a couple of weeks. So I think it talks quite a bit about like how relevant frontier tech is here at MIT. There is something day in, day out. And it really starts from the ground up and takes these teams and ideas all the way through. Do you want to see if you can inspire people and assemble a team around you? Sure, go ahead and do it. Do you want to just experiment with an idea to see if it goes anywhere? Yeah, go ahead and do it. Do you want to reach like 1 million ARR and then be funded like right away? There are people who does that as well. So it's not just outliers in this community of Sloan or MIT in general who is taking an entrepreneurial route. I think it's very much ingrained into the DNA of the institution for like decades that it's out there. If you want to do something, you can find yourself attached to any of these ideas, people, frontier research people, or pioneers in their field in material science, AI, blockchain, workflow automation, supply chain. So it is just the breadth of all of these happening at MIT is just so wide. You can definitely find something. As Jenny mentioned as well, like software, hardware, impact, climate, research, whatever you want, it's here. And the MIT name carries a lot of weight, especially in Boston and Cambridge. I mean, obviously in the world as well, but you feel it firsthand. And for example, like I'm going to a $1 million funding moonshot party for a VC in Boston like tomorrow, and I just heard about it like yesterday. So it's not like there are these outlier events once in a while. As I mentioned, it's all the time. And you can be part of it. The process is very iterative, very human, very trial and error, and then taking risks individually and try to see if you can do it, if you can talk to someone, if you can communicate your ideas. So all of those are the risks. I think the Martin Trust Center and the broader ecosystem does an amazing job in terms of encouraging the students and the rest of the ecosystem to take those risks especially in terms of inspiring people, having a firmer buttoned-up view in terms of explaining your ideas, communicating your views, etc., to the people that you want to inspire, and then it becomes a very very much of a grassroots process. Little bit about my timeline. I think like from September onwards, I took the core entrepreneurial course as well, and then it started off like pretty slow for me. My hit rate in terms of the outreach was like at 3%, and I was thinking it wasn't going anywhere. But over time, with persistence, which is part of the process as well, we started to get some very tangible results in terms of the outreach and talking to customers. The framework that is followed up here is very much aligned with all of the other universal frameworks, and it's known around the world, the discipline entrepreneurship. So it is tried and tested. We've had very encouraging results in just only like 2-3 months. And I joined the Martin Trust Center as part of the teaching team. Currently, we've landed our MVP design partner with our first customer that has $1 billion under management. And my venture is also part of the sandbox. We're applying for extended funding. We're getting a lot of mentoring from the venture mentoring services, and we're also preparing for the Delta V applications, which are closing in 2 weeks. They're open now. So there's a lot of buzz around Sloan, around MIT. Or are you going to do Delta V? Or have you found your team for Delta V, etc. So it's real. And the idea is for my team is to spend the summer in the accelerator program, and by the end of Delta V, decide with my team that if we want to continue with a full commitment after Delta V as well, which is super exciting. I was presenting with another Delta V alum just last week, and he went through the same process. He was part of the 15390 course as well, and his original idea was this whiskey labeling business that had like very little commercial promise, and he's now trying to assemble a Series A at 65 million. And I think that's a great example of the stuff that's going on here. It's like very very hardcore research, very much at the pioneer of deep tech, etc. So as I mentioned, like the breadth is infinite. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out after this as well. But I think that's in a nutshell from me.
Awesome. Thanks, Gökhan. So if we go to the next slide, I'll just give you a quick snapshot. I'll keep it short and sweet. But I'm Mike Sanchez. I'm a second-year MBA, one of the lucky few that got accepted for first year for Delta V. But maybe I'll tell you a little bit of a story of me coming into MIT. I had the experience of like building a clinic in the past, and I knew one thing coming into MIT is I wanted to build a business, and I also knew I didn't want to be in the healthcare space. It is a nightmare to be in the healthcare space. And so when I first came in here, I met my co-founders doing a case competition. So we just got together, worked on a case competition, we got to finalists. And so after that, I knew I really wanted to work with these guys, and it turns out that these guys are a biomedical engineer and a doctor, an MD. And so I'm building a healthcare company again. And so it was really fun. I mean, I'm open to whatever opportunities come in here, and it's honestly been an amazing journey. So be open to whatever opportunities come up. I think that's like the one thing that you really need to do for MIT. And then I put a lot of like logos and images here, and you can see that it looks messy, and that's honestly because entrepreneurship is messy. We have been through an entire roller coasters of up and down. When we first started, we just finished the case competition, and we're like, all right, let's work on a company together. So we had this really, like, I think nice idea of rewording discharge paperwork for patients to make it a lot more understandable. And we're like, yes, this is it. This is what we're going to do. We got into MIT Fuse. we go out there and hack our way through like 20 or 30 interviews, and we realize this is worthless. This is actually not going to actually work as a company. And so we start to pivot and start to take some of these other classes and slowly kind of make our way into where we're at now. And to be honest, it's been such an amazing journey. It has not disappointed. I was a little skeptical, to be honest, going into MIT, because there's a lot of hype. People are trying to hype you up, but the resources are there. And so, you can't make a horse drink water, but you can bring it to it. And so over here, we offer all of the resources you need, and it's self-serve. So take it yourself. And I'm proud to say that, throughout that entire journey of back and forths, when we got accepted to Delta V, I still consider it one of the best programs we've been accepted into. They have board members that really scold you every single month and keep you accountable to making progress. And that helped us make that final pivot to where we're seeing more success now. We've received our first investment check. We have 3 customers that we're working with, and officially as of last week, we have hired our first engineer and our CTO. So it's we now have an employee on the payroll, which means it's real. And yeah, we're excited to be on this journey, and I'm certain that you guys can do so much more than what we even could with the new tools and technology advancing as it is today. So I wish you all the best, and please feel free to reach out to me if there's any way I can help or any of us can help.
Yeah, so with that, I think the call to action for you is in the next slide. How can MIT help you help yourself? This place is really what you make it. And oftentimes when students arrive on campus, they're like, how do I make the most of it? And I'm like, well, you're going to drink from the fire hose. That's just one of the things that happens in our community. But that's okay. Like, lean in to moments of aha, lean in to moments of inspiration, lean into places that you didn't think you were going to find yourself in. Because as you start to do that, you'll really get inspired and you'll get a feel for everything that's on campus. And then you can decide afterwards, because there is fatigue that comes in that, but afterwards you can be like, okay, I really want to lean in on this. I really want to spend time on this. And that's where you will meet your people and your community, and then you build from there. So really excited to take questions and help you as much as we can. And for any of you that are nearby and thinking about traveling, come visit us. We are an open campus. You can walk around, and we'd love for you to stop by and say hi. So how do we do questions, Catherine?
Yeah, thank you all so much. This is an amazing presentation. So I highlighted a few questions in the Q&A, and I'm happy to ask those live to be answered. If there's questions in there y'all see though while we're addressing these and want to feel free to answer them, you can. But to get us started, one person was asking, I know everyone's a current student right now, but maybe Jenny, you could speak to this a little bit. Do people who are graduates of MIT and participated in the entrepreneurship resources, will they have access to those after they graduate?
Great question. Great question. So when I graduated, one of the companies that I co-founded was Optimus Ride. We did shared electric and autonomous mobility solutions. And one of the immediate resources, and it's been mentioned already, but one of the immediate resources that we leveraged was the venture mentoring service. So what's great about the venture mentoring service is that they will support you after you graduate. And how do they support you? A couple of ways. One is they partner you with 2 mentors, and then you can decide on what is the schedule by which you will come together, and that's another group of folks that can really hold you accountable. The second is that they provide a lot of workshops, and they also provide office hours with industry experts, so lawyers, accountants, folks of that nature. Another organization that we used a lot, and I haven't mentioned it previously, but MIT has this industry liaison program, and basically what it is MIT's engagement with all of corporates worldwide. And there is a specific startup exchange element to that industry liaison program that works specifically with alumni companies that already have revenue or some investment and are starting to grow and are looking for corporate partners. And so what that Startup Exchange does is that it enables relationship building between companies that are connected to MIT and startups that are MIT spinouts that want to work with MIT startups. So those are two that we used a lot. But I'm curious how you guys are thinking about it as you're getting ready to graduate and what resources you're thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think the MIT email address like stays live for like 6 months, and so use that to the best of your ability. Like I cannot stress enough how many people will answer your email by just saying MIT student conducting research. Everybody wants to help a student. Don't ever say like, hey, sales or have a meeting with me or whatever. Just say you're an MIT student, and I think that it works wonders. So milk that as much as you can, and honestly, just stay connected to the community. I think everybody's super open, and everybody gives out their contact information. So I think it's just staying connected is the best thing you can do. You give back, and it gives back to you. So.
Mm-hmm. How about you? Have you thought about that as you're getting ready to graduate? You have 1 more year, so you can.
Yeah, definitely staying active with the community goes a long way, and I agree with Mike. And I think the community is so collaborative here at MIT. Like everybody knows that everybody's giving back to the community, so it just makes the whole pie much bigger for everyone to benefit from. I really enjoyed that piece of it, and be ready to be active in the community as I've been using the resources here as well.
Yeah, and actually on that point, how to stay active, right? So one of the things that even our class does is 15390 is we invite alumni to come and give feedback to current student entrepreneurs. So, even after you graduate, as you're building your business, this is an opportunity to kind of see also what's fresh and how students are thinking about applying certain technologies. The other thing I will say is that, there's certain faculty that, they are open to being advisors as well. And sometimes they'll also invite you to come and speak in class, and that helps a lot with your recruiting. So if you have a startup and then you're looking for interns and things like that, that's a nice positive reinforcing loop as well. And there's a lot of different networking events that happen. And so if you stay on the newsletters, for example, the Trust Center, we have a newsletter, and some of the other entrepreneurship centers and programs have newsletters as well. And so there, they will also tell you about events that are open to alumni. Next question.
Thanks for that. Another question folks had were if there are any resources available to them before they come to Sloan to get involved in the entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Well, so for sure, I'll kick it off with the program manager. So, for folks that are coming into campus and they are, really interested in being entrepreneurs, there's nothing better than being one of the program managers for Delta V. For us, it is super great to have incoming students take on that role, because then you learn so much very, very quickly about the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and then you become the go-to person that gets all the questions of what we do, what are the resources, and so forth. And so that really I would say like expedites your networking, which is something that I think is very important. And then the other pieces too is I recommend to folks, like we already mentioned, discipline entrepreneurship. Nothing stopping you from reading the content. There's always a difference between reading it and then living it. And so what's helpful is if you are interested and read it, then you can get even more out of the classes and the action learning activities. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I found really helpful was that once you get your MIT email address, which is like a few months before you actually start the program, what I did was to just go to Orbit, create a profile of my own, and then it gives you a slew of resources on what Fuse is, who the personalities are, what classes are offered, etc. And it is a really deep resource, so I found that really helpful to go through like which classes I'd be interested in, which professors are relevant to me and my interests, etc. So that I would highly recommend like spending some time beforehand and in the ecosystem to see how to navigate best.
Mm-hmm. Great. Next.
Yeah, great, thank you. Another question for the students, have any of y'all taken advantage of the student clubs at Sloan or greater MIT, and how have they maybe helped you in your entrepreneurial experience?
I could go first. I mean, just for my entrepreneurial plans, I took a leadership role at the Sloan Investment Conference, and then did a bunch of surveys and primary market research with like tens of people at there. But I mean, these things are relevant. I mean, we were sold out. It was at the Marriott downtown. And for example, since my entrepreneurial plans are within financial services, I found that to be like very relevant. I also was a member of the private equity and venture capital club here at Sloan as well, so that was relevant. I met a bunch of people. So while maintaining the coursework and the club work, those things like really opened up doors for me to talk to more people. And for those of you who are familiar, you would know like talk to customers, talk to users. But if you're not familiar, that's going to be a big part of your entrepreneurial journey. So those things definitely opened up doors for me.
I think for me, I had mentioned that I am part of the leadership team for Climate and Energy Prize, which has been a good way to meet people who have the closer alignment in terms of my personal interest. And also I'm part of the Sloan Energy Club, and have also helped to organize broader MIT energy events like Energy and Climate Night, which for me was really a great way to meet students across campus, because I was reaching out to labs to see what sort of research they were doing, to see if they wanted to present at our Energy and Climate Night. The other thing that I can think of, which I think is pretty unique to MIT, is there's a giant WhatsApp chat, at least for climate kids, between MIT and Harvard. And we do have meetups so that we can learn about different things that are happening at each other's campuses, and we'll send each other like, hey, like Harvard's got this cool event with this one speaker that you guys might be interested in. And I've definitely made some friends there, and we're like sneaking each other events that we can all hop onto for free at each other's campuses. So I think that was another good way, maybe outside of the MIT like bubble a little bit, but still in the broader ecosystem.
Yeah, I honestly second that. I think like in addition to being part of the clubs, I think a lot of clubs like publicize like the speaker series and conferences and stuff that they're working on. And I don't know, I feel like students self-organize in a really good way. We always have really top caliber speakers. And so honestly, it's what you make of it, right? You have to be a hustler to get connected to who you want, and the opportunities are there for you to reap them. So
I thought of one more thing, is that on Sundays, there's an organization that just hacks things every Sunday at MIT called Sunday.
Yes.
Sunday AI.
Yeah.
I've never gone, but it's on my list. So that's like another like regular, I think it's student organized. It's like not really affiliated with the school in any way. But that's another cool way to meet people and just see what's happening.
And since there was mention of Harvard as well, just maybe a good segue into like, you know, the core entrepreneurial course we were talking about, 15390 is open to all Harvard and Wellesley students as well. And we have a bunch of those kids in the classroom. So better opportunities for cross-pollination as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you for highlighting that. Just by fact of where MIT is located, we have a lot of amazing opportunities across Cambridge community and Boston area, which is really unique for us.
Yeah, actually on that front, I will also share that, for example, Tufts University, the EIR here is now running that entrepreneurship center. And then at Babson, it was an EIR here, one of the founders of Care.com. Then she went to run the center there. And then what ends up happening is every year or so, Tufts holds a cross entrepreneurship center networking. And that's been really popular as well, bringing folks from different parts of the larger Boston entrepreneurial student ecosystem.
Thank you. Another question, as we talk about all these amazing opportunities and resources, how did y'all find the balance between working on your startup and balancing your coursework as well?
I can
Yeah, you kick it off.
Getting a laugh.
hypothetically, if you're starting a healthcare company and you're interviewing a lot of doctors, then you can say you have a lot of doctor appointments. So you have to be entrepreneur and creative to make it work. But I think you'll find a nice balance. You'll pick classes that self-serve to help your company in some way. And so along with that and your creativity, you can balance for sure.
I think for me, so I struggled with this a lot first semester because core semester can be a lot.
Yes.
You're transitioning a lot of things, you're taking a lot of classes, you're trying to make friends. So I actually spent my first semester mostly trying to find co-founders, which for me meant a little bit less like tactical work. I wasn't really going out and doing interviews. And then once I sort of had or discovered somebody who gave me an idea that I could work on, I was like, okay, let me try to find other ways to make it more tangible in terms of like weaving it into my coursework. So for example, I'm taking a class right now called Listening to the Customer, which guess what, guys, that's PMR. And so that was like an opportunity to see if I could, get some perspectives like from my professor to help me as I'm developing initial interview guides, and I have to do interviews for that class anyways. But also I think you have to make trade-offs. So I'm starting to think about next semester and I'm like, okay, can I balance a TA-ship and also build a venture and also do this? And the answer is, I also tore my ACL, so I also rehabilitate myself. So like the answer is no. And so I'm starting to play the game of like, what sort of trade-offs am I willing to like put off? Maybe like I don't do the TA-ship, or I have a slightly lighter course load to allow me to work on the things that I do want to work on, which I think is something people should keep in mind when you're here, because there's so many things and you literally want to do everything and you can't. So revisiting why you're here and making sure that whatever you're doing is aligned to that, I think is pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only thing I would add is to, take benefit of whatever's overlapping. Like I designed my coursework for things that could like potentially help me with my entrepreneurial journey as well, like entrepreneurial finance and venture capital, or entrepreneurial strategy, entrepreneurial founding. So there's a lot of coursework that you can take for credit while pursuing your degree that could really be helpful in your journey as well. And then some of it may sound intuitive, but really, I mean, even if it adds that small thing to your journey and helps you along the way, that's a huge win. So you can also balance like that.
Yeah. The only other thing that I'll add is I was just actually talking to a student about this very question. He's in my seminar course, and he's like, I know that there's all of this other work that I need to be doing, and I have to read a case for this class. As a very tangible example, right? And one of the things that I kept probing on is what do you think you need to learn to be the best leader for your company in the different manifestations that it's going to need of you. And so, yes, like make the courses work for you for what you need to build, but also like remember that this is time that you are investing in yourself. And so what type of leader do you want to be? How do you want to present yourself to the world? And are there any gaps? Because if there are gaps, those are things that will pop up as you're building your venture. I can guarantee you. And so then how do you think about that in the context too of what is it that you want to learn? And you're playing a long game here. So keep that balance in mind.
Yeah, I'll add one more thing is another tactical thing that I did for kind of like expanding the time. I think it was circumstance of the way I was building the company is it wasn't as serious for the first 2 semesters, not because we weren't committed, but because there was a lot of exploration that was needed. And so what I actually ended up doing is I front loaded a lot of classes. And so by the nature of it, I had more flexibility to take a little bit of a lighter coursework in the subsequent semesters. So obviously play it by ear. And if, your thing is going fast and you got to act fast, then, that changes circumstances, but it is what you make of it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point too, is that sometimes it's a marathon, sometimes it's a sprint in terms of what your company needs from you at that particular time.
Thank you for that. Another question, I know we have about 5 minutes left, but what was the reason that you all chose to pursue an MBA and work on your startup while in the program rather than just starting a business on your own?
Super happy to jump on that. So for me, I have always been a very career-oriented person. And when I was working out in Korea, that's where I met my wife. My priorities shifted. And so, I wanted to focus more on family life as well. And to be quite honest, yes, I could have not gone to MIT and started my own company, but I think what I got through MIT is I get a risk-free period. And so just thinking about it from finance perspective, I have the ability to try and fail as many times as I want during these 2 years with no repercussions. But as soon as I'm doing that in the real life, it impacts my family and my living. And so that was kind of like the consideration I took. And I couldn't think of another place to find like-minded people to build a company with. I had done a company in the past and did it alone. And I know it's something I don't want to do. I think working with co-founders just gives you different perspectives and helps you succeed. So I think it was a mix of these things for me.
I also viewed the MBA as a risk-free, albeit expensive way to do that. I knew that I wanted to work in the startup space, but I wasn't sure if I had what it took to start my own company. Like Jenny and I have had extensive conversations about this. And so for me, it was a little bit of trying, like, can I actually start my own thing? And if not, like, that's great and that's a valuable learning. Do I even like working with startups? And if the answer is still yes, then I could kind of double click into what that looked like. So for me, it was more so getting to explore entrepreneurship and getting to do that with, one, a little bit of structure, because I'm a very structured person, and two, with people that would be able to help me provide the sort of perspectives that I needed.
Yeah, I echo all of those, and maybe to add to that, sharing commonalities with the people that you may find around here is, I think it's really important. Like you can start a company on your own, but I mean, there's a very good chance that it's not going to be fun at all if you attack that on your own. And then if you just try to match yourself with the random people that you meet without spending that dating phase, that may not go that well as well. So mine was de-risking as well, but from meeting my co-founders, meeting the new people, it doesn't always have to be like co-founders as well. Like you might meet your angels. That happens pretty often. Like 50% of your professors are going to have their own businesses anyways, by the way. Like, they raise funds all the time. There's a lot going on. And then especially if what you want to do have a bit of a technical angle to it, well, good news. I mean, this is MIT, right?
Mm-hmm. The only thing I'll add, because I think I'm one of the few MBA alums that didn't come with the entrepreneurship bug already planted, but listen, I had already been in middle management. I'd been working in the car share industry leading up to being in the MBA. And so I've seen like what hyper scale of a startup looks like. I'd seen sort of how policy can change and how startups can be policy changers, even though you think, oh, I'm like a small startup, but if you're making a meaningful change, how can you inform how policy can take hold? And so I had been doing a lot of public-private partnerships, and I realized that there was a lot of translation that kept creating tension and slowed down progress. And so for me, I wanted to come to the MBA to learn how to be an intersectional leader, and to really understand communication. So often people talk about people and communication and how hard it is and why is it so hard. And I really just wanted to spend time investing in myself to understand why is that so hard and how can I be better at it in order to help me in whatever thing I ended up going into. And it just so happened that I wanted to do affordable housing at first. I really, care about accessible housing, and I think it's extremely dysfunctional in how it is. But as I started exploring that, other opportunities opened up that just really called to my heart. And so that's how entrepreneurship sort of came to me. But all of the reasons for which I wanted to do the MBA served and continue to serve my entrepreneurial aspirations. And so even as an EIR now, I'm building a new startup because a builder's got to build. And so anyway, really excited for all of us in our entrepreneurial journey and where that's going to take us next. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. I know we're almost at time, so I want to be very fair and thoughtful of y'all's time. So thank you again for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time as well. And I will post this slide now with our email to stay connected. If you have any questions, you can reach out. Also learn a little bit more about entrepreneurship as well with the link up on the top. Thank you again to everyone. Thank you, Jenny. We hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.